was one time it was charged in an espionage case, and the guy ended up pleading guilty to a different offense, so it was never adjudicated.
So, so that your concern is with the negligence threshold, that you think it requires mens rea, or knowing the crime. But in all 50 states, isn't there a negligent homicide statute, and aren't people prosecuted for that all the time? And doesn't the Supreme Court and all the courts below that uphold those prosecutions just on the basis of negligence?
I don't know whether all 50 states. I think negligent homicide and manslaughter statutes are relatively common.
Okay, so but don't all 50 states have something like that, and aren't those sustained in the upper courts, those convictions?
I don't know whether all 50 states have something like that, but again, I think it's very common, and I think those are sustained.
So don't we have a history of, you implied that the American judicial system doesn't have a history of convicting somebody for negligence, but don't we in other domains of justice?
We do. I know the federal system best. There are very few in the federal system. They're mostly, as we talked about earlier, in the Environmental and Food and Drug Administration area.
Thank you. Now I want to ask another question that's come up here. You've basically related to us that this information, this top secret or classified information, got into these email chains because of conversations people were having. They were relating what they heard before in other settings. Is that correct?
No. Maybe in some cases, but it was people having an email conversation about a classified subject.
Okay, so they were having an email conversation, but how in this email conversation did this bore marking show up? Like, if they're not sophisticated enough, as you said before, even Hillary Clinton wasn't sophisticated enough to recognize a bore marking, the C with the parentheses for confidential or classified, if they weren't that sophisticated, how did they recreate that bore marking in their emails when they're having these discussions?
A lot of what ended up on Secretary Clinton's server were stuff that had been forwarded up a chain, gets to her from her staff, a lot of that forwarding, and then she comments sometimes on it. Someone down in the chain, in typing a paragraph that summarized something, put a portion marking, C, on that paragraph.
Doesn't it take a lot of intent to take a classified document from a setting that's authorized and secure to one that's not? Wouldn't it require intent for somebody to recreate that classification marking in an unsecure setting?
I don't know. It's possible, but also I
mean, do they accidentally type open parentheses C, close parentheses, and indent the paragraph?
Oh no, you wouldn't accidentally type.
Right. So
someone down the chain. Right. Someone down the chain.
Okay. So this is my question: is someone down the chain being investigated? Because they had the intent clearly. If they had the sophistication which Hillary Clinton, you insinuate, may have lacked, if they had the sophistication to know what this bore marking was, they had to have the intent to recreate it, or the intent to cut, copy, paste from a secure system to an unsecure system. Wouldn't that be correct?
Potentially, but we're not. There's not an open criminal investigation of that person way down the chain.
Shouldn't there be?
A criminal investigation?
An investigation if there's intent, which is what and I think you may be reasonable in requiring that threshold, but don't we treat everybody the same, whether at the top of the chain or the bottom of the chain?
Sure, you want to if the conduct is the same, but we did not criminally investigate whoever started that chain and put the C on on those paragraphs. We did.
Okay, I would suggest maybe you might want to do that, and I will yield back to the chairman.